What's up, everyone? Welcome to Bluegrass State of Mind, the show where three college roommates
talk life, sports, and all the ridiculous things that happen in an apartment we like to refer to as Room 302. We're bringing you stories, hot takes, and the kind of late-night debates that probably should have stayed in the group chat.
So grab your headphones, sit back, and get ready for a wild ride through our past college life, sports, and everything in between. Let's get into it. This is Bluegrass State of Mind.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Bluegrass State of Mind. Well, first off, we just want to thank all the listeners out there who gave our podcast a listen. We thank you all for tuning into that, for sharing it, for liking it, for subscribing. We hope you all continue to tune in as we release new episodes. We have decided that we're going to try to release new episodes every Tuesday and Friday at 6 a.m. We want to get it out early so you all can enjoy the podcast as you're on your way to work. So be on the lookout for that. Tonight we're trying something a little different. We're trying to video this. We're going to make it a little bit more interesting for you all as the viewers. I think Spotify will allow you all to possibly watch it. We're going to try to upload this on other platforms. So if you are able to watch the video version, we hope you enjoy that. Here's what we're looking at tonight. So tonight we're going to do a little recap of the Super Bowl. We're going to talk a little Kentucky basketball. And then we're going to have our pet peeves that you all, the audience, voted on as your favorite for us to discuss on this episode. We're going to do a little bit of underrated food items, and then we're going to end the night with Tigers playing this week. So we hope you all sit back and enjoy the show. So let's get right into it, fellas. So currently, right now, the Super Bowl is ending. Wow, didn't see this coming. So this is a big shock to me. So I'm just going to hand it right over to you, Colton. Colton, what are some thoughts right away?
Mahomes just threw a 50-yard touchdown to Worthy.
He really did, yeah. So, I mean, it was a shock to me. I think I picked the Chiefs to win, but, I think we talked about how on paper the Eagles were the better team across the board. I think outside of tight end, quarterback, and coach, the Eagles were better at every single position. And that showed out tonight, right? They got to Mahomes. Mahomes hasn't had a second to throw all night long. They got rattled early, and this offense that Mahomes has and that offensive line's not built to come back like that. But I think everyone was just staying on their seats, the edge of their seats, because it's Mahomes, right? So even when they were up 17 or they got up 24, everyone was just waiting for that comeback to happen.
Yeah.
Philadelphia's defense was just relentless. They came to play. They didn't allow anything. I mean, they're going to score some garbage time points here as the game's ending. But overall, I mean, it's just been a dominant performance. It really reminds me of when the Seahawks beat the Broncos a few years back, Peyton Manning. Everyone was like, that team, Seahawks are better than what the Broncos were, but no one expected anyone to really take down Peyton Manning. They didn't think Russell Wilson was going to come in, take down Peyton Manning. Same thing with Hurts and Mahomes, but Seahawks dominated that game. It was a blowout, not even close. Broncos came back the next year and won. We'll see how the Chiefs follow up. I think as long as Reed, Mahomes, we'll see if Kelsey decides to play another year. I think that'll be a question after this game, but I think they'll do some rebuilding. I don't expect them to stay down long. They're still going to be relevant as long as Mahomes and Reed are there for sure. So,
yeah, and I think you made a really good point too with saying how Patrick Mahomes had no time all night long. And I know, Mason, before we even started this, you talked a little bit about it. I was watching the game, and the broadcasters, Brady or the other guy, one said that Philadelphia had done this with their front four, and that was it. They didn't send a single blitz all night long. So how impressive was that, Mason? That's crazy.
Yeah, and we talked about it a little bit before we jumped on here. They never really had a chance. And I text you all, they were a quarter and a half, before halftime, I think, into the game. And I was like, it kind of reminds me of when, they played the Bucs and Tom Brady was the quarterback. I think they brought that up during the broadcast too.
Yeah.
He never had time. It was like he was scrambling for his life all night long, and that's tough for him. That's tough for the Chiefs. Like Colton said, we really didn't expect it.
Before we move on though, so I guess what my whole thought the whole night too was, did we actually see the best two teams in the Super Bowl? Because I started looking back, the Chiefs won 5 games within 3 points. And there was kind of this, I don't know, there was a little bit of something hovering over the Chiefs all year long about how they were getting away with some wins. So did we see the best two teams tonight in the Super Bowl?
I think you saw the best quarterback and the other best team in the Super Bowl. I don't think you saw the best two teams. I just think that the Chiefs have the Ravens and the Bills numbers both. And so I think what people were waiting to see happen to the Chiefs all season happened at the worst time for the Chiefs. So,
Yeah, and something they mentioned in the broadcast, their left tackle, I don't remember his name, but he's not a left tackle, right? I mean, he moved to that position this year just to try to fill in, and that obviously showed tonight. I mean, Sweat was just killing him all night long, and I don't think we saw the best two teams either. I would have loved to have seen the Bills in the Super Bowl. I think they were probably a better all around team, and Josh Allen was playing better this year. He won the MVP. I would have loved to have seen the Bills in the Super Bowl. I think they probably could have put up a little better game, now just seeing this with the pressure that the Eagles were able to get against the Chiefs. But yeah, I mean, like you said, Dillon, I mean, they've had so many close one-score games this year, and I think all that's come down, to just having Mahomes, like we've talked about. He's the best quarterback in the league right now, and, you give him the ball in his hands with the game on the line, and 9 times out of 10, he's going to close it out and come out of there with a W, and that's what happened a lot this year, and I think they, skate by and ended up getting to the Super Bowl just based off him and some of the talent and Andy Reid's coaching that they have around.
Yeah. And also, I think a good really point to point out is, if you would have told me that the score would have been 40-22, and if you were to look at the stats of the Chiefs' run defense, I think that was a huge shocker because they pretty much shut down Saquon. I mean, other than a couple plays here and there, but I mean, just for the early start of the game to get the tempo flowing, I mean, they stopped Saquon. So, is that something that you think NFL fans saw coming? I mean, they pretty much stopped it, but yet Philadelphia relied on something they hadn't relied on really all year long.
I think they had to. I think that was their whole game plan going in because that's all the Eagles have done all year. That's something that I was going to talk about. Saquon, he was very limited this game, and he's probably going to get overlooked in this Super Bowl. His first Super Bowl, he didn't really have the performance he probably wanted or fans thought he was going to have. But I honestly believe he's the entire reason why they were there. He changed the entire scheme of this offense. And obviously their D-line won this game for them. But Saquon is the reason that they were in this position. And yeah, I mean, I think that was the Chiefs' whole game plan coming in. Let's see if they can beat us throwing the ball. Let's see if they can beat us. And we talked about it last week on one of our first takes before it didn't record right. I said Hurts, I think he'd have a big game rushing because they were going to be so focused on trying to stop Saquon running the ball. And he did. He just would get out of the pocket and use his legs to create things if the pass wasn't open. And I think they were so focused on Saquon that it opened up some other opportunities for him.
Yeah. Tom, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's right. I mean, to me, it reminds me of the Derrick Henry. Like, you take a lot of people arguing for Lamar winning the MVP over Josh Allen. Lamar's stats this year were better than his MVP year last year. But I think a lot of that's credited to Derrick Henry. Right? I think a lot of I mean, when you start filling the box, then you get a lot of one-on-one matchups, more passing lanes, and Lamar's passing stats were better than last year's. Same thing with here. I think they challenged Jalen Hurts. I said they wanted to see if he could beat us with his arm. And the truth is, the Chiefs' defense was playing okay. They stopped the run. But when you're going constant 3 and outs, your defense can only play for so long before a few breakout plays, right? I mean, you take away the pick six and then the short interception. Really, I mean, they had really 2 or 3 just drives that were just good. Other than that, big play to Devontae Smith, and other than that, I mean, they didn't just dominate on offense. Philadelphia didn't. Their defense just set them up to where they didn't have to do a whole lot.
And that's a good point too. It's tough if you're loading the box and you got one-on-one with Devontae Smith, who's a speedster, and AJ Brown, who's just a freak. I mean, eventually they're going to get open.
Right?
It's tough.
Yeah. Well, also one thing I know it doesn't really have to do with the gameplay of the Super Bowl, but did you all notice the crowd? It was heavily Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Was y'all shocked? I was shocked by that because I mean,
the Eagles fans are crazy though. I'm telling you,
they are.
Like, they're a different breed. Like, they're one of those you see the hard nosed college basketball fan bases, the Kentucky fan bases. Like, we think of that. Like, that's like an NFL team. That's Philly. Like, I mean, they're going to travel and they're crazy. But Yeah, it was. I mean, I will be surprised to see like the ratings and stuff on this game. I think it's going to be pretty low compared to what it's been in the last few years.
I agree, just because
Just
of these two
because
teams.
right, these two teams, and it didn't last long, so I don't think you're going to see many people probably did. If you weren't watching it, you probably looked at the score and didn't go ahead and tune in.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the ones who didn't watch it, the only time they probably turned it on was for the halftime show.
halftime show, right?
That was for, I guess, everybody had their own opinion about that. So,
yeah, I mean, it just depends on the generation you were in, I'd say.
Yeah.
What genre of music you
but
listen
that's
to.
every year.
Yeah.
You look online, you see this is the worst halftime show ever, and that's pretty much, I've seen that online for the last
oh yeah, it just
15
depends on who it
years.
is.
So, you know,
One thing though, I am curious on did y'all hear the national anthem at the beginning?
I did, yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a great. I mean, I thought
Yeah.
the singing was good, but I talked to Claire and I was like, "What happened? What has happened to just singing a regular version of the national anthem and making it just sound good without adding a remix or all the just diff? I mean, I said, let's just hear a regular national anthem with a good singer."
I tell you, man, they don't. You're right. They change it every year. I mean, it's crazy how much they like every year now. You see like the betting on how the over under on how long the national anthem is going to last.
I think he had the over.
You don't know what kind of version is going to last, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the singer was good. I thought it was a good singing performance.
I agree.
It was just, I was like, this is just
I thought
different.
I thought the tribute beforehand, like going down Bourbon Street, Tom Brady and the Fox crew, and then I think it was Lady Gaga singing the piano, all that stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty cool way to start it for sure.
I didn't see the national anthem. I was busy getting my food together. But did he sing "Land of the Free"? Did he say it like 3 times?
I'd seen something on X about that, but I don't really understand it.
I don't remember it either. And I kind of was grabbing my food too at the same time, trying to listen. So I couldn't tell you. I just heard.
They said that's why the over hit. No, it's just like
the only thing that I saw on X2 that I thought was hilarious is somebody had tweeted on there. It said, Kendrick Lamar at the end of his performance was saying, "Turn off your TV," and they said, "Why didn't he tell us this beforehand?" And that was pretty funny. But that, like I said, everybody has their own taste in music. So, but yeah, definitely didn't see this coming. I think it was kind of a shock to all three of us.
Right, for sure. So, I honestly kind of feel a little bit bad for Mahomes because he was running around all night. Never could really get. I know he was so frustrated. It's got to be tough in that situation. It's happened to him before, but I'm sure they'll be back.
It will pump the brakes for at least a year on the GOAT conversation, probably.
Yeah.
It'll pump it just because of performance, even though a lot of it was the line and everything else. It wasn't on Mahomes necessarily, but they'll pump the brakes for a little bit until they kind of come back next year. So,
yeah, I agree. All right, well, let's get on to our next one. So our next segment tonight, we're going to be talking about Kentucky basketball again. Like we talked at the beginning of our episode, we're all avid Kentucky basketball fans and Kentucky sports in general. So this past Saturday, Kentucky played South Carolina. They won with a score of 87-59. I know I have a lot of takes on that, my perspective, but Mason, what was kind of your first things that popped in your head about Saturday's game against South Carolina?
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about it, in our group message like we always do. But I didn't really get to watch the first half. My oldest son, he had a basketball game, and then we had a birthday party we had to go to. But from what I've gathered and kind of what y'all told me, it sounded like our defense, was the best it's looked all year. And I know we played South Carolina. I know they haven't won a single SEC game all year. But, I mean, it's not like they've not played some teams close. They lost by 4 to Texas A&M. They lost by 3 to Auburn. Lost by 1 to Florida. 5 to Mississippi State in overtime. So I think that was a big game for us. Just kind of getting that momentum back rolling, coming out and kind of handling them how we did, really putting them away in the second half. They had a couple possessions in the second half where they cut it down to, I don't think 7 or 8, and then we just kind of stepped on the gas after that, really put them away. So I think that's a big thing mentally for our team right now, because we've been struggling here of late, and I think you could see it, some of their body language.
That's what I was going to say. That's a good point. On the body language in general, it was good just for us in that site.
Yeah, And then another thing, I think we saw some flashes of our offense again. There were plays where we were creating that help defense and getting wide open dunks or wide open layups, that we really started to see those flashes again. And it didn't seem like it was so much Lamont Butler doing it at the time, but I just think he's such an important piece. We look better with him,
sure.
and I just think he helps his team so much. And then Brandon Garrison, I thought he had a great game, made a dumb mistake, with getting that technical. But I've said all year, if he can develop, he's the only McDonald's All-American we have on our roster, so he was rated that high for a reason. He has the ability. I think you give him another year, to kind of stay and develop develop his jump shot, get in the weight room a little bit, put on some muscle. He had some great passes too. We talk about Amari Williams kind of standing out there and helping, facilitate some. He had some great passes during that game that kind of gave me flashes of what Amari Williams does for us this year that I could see him doing next year if he hangs around and develops.
Yeah. Before I send it over to Cole, I want to touch on some of the things you said too, because I did watch pretty much all of the game. So a couple of things that stood out to me was, first off, we only had 2 points until like the 15-minute mark of the first half.
I texted y'all.
Yeah, I know. And we texted you, said offense looks horrendous is what I was saying. The score was 4-2, like right at the 15-minute mark. So only 2 points at the beginning. Now, on the other hand, our defense looked incredible. I thought that our guards, Brea and Robinson especially, were up in their man, wasn't giving them the space that we know we were used to doing. And, Brea and Robinson are not the quickest off their feet, but I think if they can just kind of get up into them a little bit more like they did that game, it just gives that little bit extra pressure, and that offensive player feels that body contact. And when you feel that body contact, it changes your complete mindset of how you're going to get around your man. So that was a couple of things. Also, I was looking at it because I was looking at our 3-point attempts again. It says that we only shot 23. We was only 8 for 23. But, you was talking about seeing some of that old offense that we had. We outscored them in the paint. Y'all know what the score ratio was in the paint?
Oh, was
Kentucky 44, South Carolina 26. So we dominated in the paint.
It's good to see.
Yeah, I know, and that's not like us. So I think, though, my biggest takeaway, it was such a good game, but I want to elaborate a little bit more off what I was talking about with the 2 points only in the first half. I think that the first half, they showed our biggest weakness, and that is we are not a half-court team. We are not a half-court team. And because we were running the shot clock down almost every possession, and although we have a lot of actions going on, we're rubbing off screens, but all it is, it's just simple screens and rubbing off each other and handing the ball off. Other than that, there's just not a lot of action going on, and they were slowing us down. And in the second half, you said that's where our offense started going, and that's where we're at our best, and that's how we get up transition threes. But whenever a team makes us a half-court team, that's our kryptonite. And I don't even know necessarily that it was them making us, and that's what I was so worried about. I was like, I don't think that the defense is making us be that way. I think we're doing it to ourselves right now, and that's what I was like, why are we doing this? So, Cole, what do you go off a little bit off some of the things that you saw? That was just some of my biggest takeaways. I'm sure you agree with some of them, but go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm like Mason. I wasn't around, but I watched some of it on the phone, then actually got home and replayed so I could kind of study and watch. A few of my biggest takeaways, we definitely seemed to play more effort on defense, which was good. The biggest thing is this was the perfect game situation for Kentucky for this time, right? We're derailing. We've lost 4 of our last 5. We get to come back home and play against the last place team, right? Our defense plays with a little more effort. You get Lamont Butler back. So you get a full lineup. You get the worst team in the SEC at home. Your defense gets some confidence. Obviously South Carolina, I think our defense played a lot harder. So I'm not just crediting it to South Carolina not being a great team. But, I think that also helps a little bit. But you're right. You talk about us being a half-court team. That's why our defense is so important, right? If we're not able to stop anyone, then we're not getting out in transition, right? If we're not creating turnovers, we're not getting in transition. And then suddenly the offense becomes stagnant. When we're at our best is when Butler's running and you got Robinson to your right or Brea to your left, and you're like, take your pick. right? Either one of them, lights out shooting, especially in those type of moments.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a good win. It's what Kentucky needed, a kind of a dominant win to kind of gain at least anything, at least gain some confidence. You got a big game coming up Tuesday.
Yeah.
I was looking at the stretch, really this 5-game stretch starting with South Carolina. I would think it was South Carolina, home against Tennessee, at Texas, home against Vandy, and at Alabama. And truthfully, as good as the SEC is, this is probably our easiest 5-game stretch we'll get in the entire SEC this year. South Carolina, Vandy at home, and at Texas. Even though those are still tough games, that's really probably the easiest 5-game stretch we're going to get. I think we've got to go 3-2. You got the one in South Carolina. You need to find a way to go 3-2. 4-1's great. You go 2-3, 1-4. You're starting to, it's not as great, but that's going to be a tough stretch. I just think it was a perfect game because that's exactly what we needed for right now. Get Butler back, and you got a dominant win. Your defense gained some confidence. You got to play at home, regroup for this final stretch. Hopefully, everyone stays healthy the rest of the season. You at least play with a full lineup.
And that's a big thing. That's what I was about to talk to you about. Health. You hate seeing it, but again, we just talked about it last week. You see Jackson Robinson and his wrist that he literally, it was hurting him or it was bothering him every play in the second half.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. And who knows how I think Butler played okay. I mean, he makes a big difference out there, especially defensively. I mean, he didn't do anything special. But he played good. And I think he played 23 minutes, so it's not like he was in there a lot. Yeah. I thought that one thing was surprising, though, was Garrison, as good as he was offensively, was the only player on our team to have a minus on the plus minus. So everyone, he had a -2, and he was 7 for 8 and 15 points off the bench. So I know the technical had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I think that just goes to show how good the defense was from everybody else. So.
Right. I think Amari Williams had a plus 32, which was crazy. And, he's playing
plus minus
right now. He's been insane. Right. But there was another game. We shot 48% total from the field. Right. Our field goal percentage is hovering around that 50% every game. So we have no problem scoring at a high rate. Just whether or not we can stop the teams. Right. And that's the question going forward. And, hopefully just gain some confidence and some effort standpoint. For sure.
And a couple of key points.
Go ahead, Mason.
All right. A couple of key points, Cody. You talked about the defense, and that really does translate to our offense, right? Whenever we can get stops and get out in transition and get teams pushing or get pushing against other teams, you see our offense is a lot better. So I think, our biggest thing going into the rest of the season is defense, and another thing that I noticed, speaking of like defense, whenever we get a stop, I don't know if y'all noticed it, but the difference whenever Butler's in there and somebody gets a rebound and gets it to him, I mean, he's immediately turning his head and he's pushing full speed down the court. Robinson gets it, and he's just kind of, lollygagging up the court, taking his time. And I think that's a big difference that I noticed on Saturday with Butler back. Whenever he was in the game and we get a stop and they get it to him, I mean, he's gone immediately. And he's trying to push it as fast as he can. And our other guards don't do that. And that's a big difference.
Yeah. No, I think that goes back to making us a half-court team. I mean, we got to push the ball in transition. That's what this team is known for. That's when this team is at its best. So I think for us that's what I'm scared about in March. We're going to match up with a team who's going to try to slow us down, and then we're going to fall into that. But hopefully, we can kind of get back in this flow of playing just UK basketball. And then I don't know what you all think, but I still feel like Andrew Carr is just not feeling like he's not himself still. Like he's still, you can just tell on the court, like he's still making great moves. He's still doing his footwork. He's playing his type of basketball. But, I just feel like you can see it. He's not as aggressive on offense, and he still feels like he's just trying to make sure he doesn't re-injure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's with him and Butler. I think Butler came back because we were in a desperation game, right? Like we could not afford to lose that Saturday. So if Butler could go at all, we had to play everyone, right? You lose that game on Saturday to the one team who hasn't won a game yet at home. The noise is going to get loud, not just for Pope, but the Cats and what
morale
the future
within
looks
that
like,
team
right?
would have
the morale,
been,
exactly. So I don't know how healthy they are. I hate that they're having to play, that we haven't won some of these games where they can maybe be resting up.
Yeah.
But we're at the point now that you can't really afford to not have them out there. So if they can
Yeah.
play, they can. But yeah, it's a concern going forward because if they're not at their best, you come tournament time, everyone needs to be at their best, and the depth that it gives us when we have the full lineup, especially, we don't have the guard position, right? Butler's got to play. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a question going forward.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. Well, I believe that wraps up our Kentucky discussion. Let's move on to our next segment. We're going to be doing our pet peeves. So, we obviously this is a podcast and we've discussed this, our sports. We want to talk about it, but we also want to incorporate a little bit of lighthearted conversations, just bring a little bit of different atmosphere as well to go along with the sports. But we sent out a poll to you all, and you all had the options of choosing a boys trip that we talk about, like what's our ultimate boys trip, pet peeves, and the other one was the GOAT of fast food. So, the pet peeves won it. So that's what we're going to do. So Mason, we're going to start with you. What
All right.
is
Let us know, big dog.
Yeah, let us know
what
what's
it is.
a pet peeve of yours.
Listen,
Elaborate a little bit more.
Oh yeah. This is gonna be it'd sound like the biggest dad thing ever. All right. Like growing up, you used to hear this all the time, be like, man, what's the big deal? But my biggest pet peeve in my house is you leave a room, you turn the light off, right? I I can't stand. Brittany will go in a room, turn the light on, she'll walk out, and that light will stay on all day. And I'm like, why are you leaving the light on? For example, we went on a date night a few weeks ago, and we had a couple teenagers. One of them's her cousin. I think he's a senior in high school, and his girlfriend just graduated, and they came over and watched our kids for us. We went out and ate supper and stuff, and came back. And when I tell you, every light in my house was on. Every closet light, every bathroom light, every bedroom light, the laundry room light. We got three different lights in our living room and kitchen. Every light in my house was on. Like cabinet doors were open. I looked at Brittany and I said, is this what we have to look forward to with teenagers growing up? Like they just run around and just leave everything.
So are you saying
on.
like if you're in bed in the middle of the night and you're like thinking about a light being on, you'll just get up and go turn it off? Like if you're like
1,000%. 1,000%. Every night before I go to bed, I make sure every time before we leave the house, I make sure every light in the house is turned off. I make sure all the doors are locked.
I'm not really like that, Cohen. Have you ever thought about that?
In a way, yes, but I'm also one of those that kind of leaves like a random like kitchen light on or something, especially if I'm going to get back late.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I don't want to come into a complete dark house. What if someone's come in and
Mason, what about outside lights? Because like when you leave,
I'll leave
security
like
lights.
my garage lights on and my front porch light on.
Okay.
And then I have cameras at both of those, but inside the house, I cannot stand the light being on. It drives me insane. If you're not in that room using it, the light needs to be off.
Gotcha. Okay.
Especially when I'm paying the electric bill.
Right.
And I get that every
Yeah,
time.
this one time's up, right? Exactly.
Okay. All right. So Mason, lights better be turned off. Got it. No.
Yeah, whenever y'all come to stay at my house, make sure you turn the lights off. All right.
All right. Colton, what's your pet peeve?
Man, I was trying to think about this, and then it happened to me yesterday again. I can't stand it when someone passes me on the road just to turn like less than a mile off the road. I was going like 56 and a 55, and this car passed me yesterday, and I kid you not, I bet they didn't go 200 more yards before they took a right turn down a back road. And I thought to myself, they have flown by me at 80 miles an hour, risked this car coming at them just to cut over and turn off. And the thing
I was going to put out some road rage, Mason.
Man, I'm not even a road rage driver, but to sit there and to watch that car, I had it done a couple months ago. We were following a tractor, and there's probably 6 cars behind me, and this one car passed all 7 of us, and it turned literally less than a mile up the road. And the thing is, it probably was going down a back road to their house, so it wasn't even like, oh, they're on their way to work. Right? They've got to be at work at a certain time. I tell you, that is one of my biggest pet peeves, is to sit there and watch the dang thing fly by me, cars coming the other direction, risk all their lives just for them to get to their house 30 seconds faster.
Right. So it doesn't make that big of a difference. You know,
Right.
you're going
Actually,
70 or 55. It makes 2 or 3
Man,
minutes
you know,
difference.
Cole's gonna be racing down that window, and he's gonna be screaming at him.
I tell you, I'm just going to follow the next one.
Bulldog.
I'm just going to follow
Yeah,
him
just
down the
follow and be
road.
like, was that really necessary?
I'm just going to pull up truck.
You
that's
knew
it.
you were turning in half a mile.
Hey, you would
Did
tell
that
you why
save
they
you?
passed him. Hey, they passed him. They used to pass him. It probably don't make much sense now, but because he had that old truck. My goodness, he drove that truck. How many miles did you say you had on it?
Man, I had the same truck. I got it when I was 16 years old. First vehicle I ever had 100,000 miles on it when I bought it. I just bought a new truck
700,000
back in August, and it had 365,000 miles on it. Yeah,
Yes.
they were looking at that truck knowing that I couldn't catch them if I wanted to.
That thing don't
So,
go over 50. I feel bad for that man.
Yeah, if I get it up to 80, it may break down. Just stop. So
Make some weird noises on that thing. All right. Well, my biggest pet peeve. Okay, so I done talked to Claire about it, and I was like, "Listen, I'm going to be telling them about it." So, my biggest pet. Like, I have a bunch of pet peeves, and if you know me, I'm a little OCD as it is.
We know.
But yeah, I know. But the biggest thing for me is when you get something out, or you come in from inside and you don't put something up, and it just sits there. So let me give you some examples. For example, when you walk inside and you have your car keys, you don't just lay them on the table. You don't just lay them on the couch. Put them up where they go. I
Where do they
cannot
go?
stand that.
Where,
They go on the chain,
A
like
little-
as you walk
little
in.
hook.
Like, do you have a
The
little hook?
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
probably surely somebody has like a counter, like where they put their stuff. But I'm just saying anywhere. Okay. Couple more examples. If you get like some cereal out, don't leave the cereal box out and go eat your cereal. Pour the cereal in, put the cereal box up, then go enjoy your cereal. I cannot stand that kind of stuff. And then just in general, just clothes laying everywhere. I kid you not. Claire told me the other day, I was like, I walked in because like when I come in from work, guys, I don't think y'all understand. I have a problem. When I come in from work, my very first instinct is to go clean, which Claire has 2 kids all day, and she does great. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. But my first instinct is like, I'm going to get the house cleaned up. And, Claire, she told me the other day, and I told her, I said, I'm going to try to be better at that. I'm going to try to not be as like OCD about that stuff, but leaving stuff out and stuff. But she was like, yeah, she said, poor Hayes is going to go to school. And he's going to tell all the kids that they have to have cleanup time 30 minutes before daddy gets home. It's going to be, all the other kids will be like, why do you have cleanup time 30 minutes before dad gets home? But that's like my biggest pet peeve is just like leaving things out or messiness in general. I don't know.
Just to harp on that a little bit, I remember back in college, like you'd walk in Dillon's room and everything was exactly, like he had his spots where everything was supposed to be, and it was exactly like,
oh yeah,
if anything was off, like twisted, like wasn't perfectly aligned, I used
Yeah.
to go in there and just like move stuff just to mess with him.
Yeah. Talk
Like
about
just turning a little sideways, and I'd
Man.
watch him, and he'd walk back in, and the first thing he'd do, he'd notice it and be like, man.
Listen, one of the biggest things that used to bother me, but now I've been around multiple people that's like this, is when y'all would make me turn the volume to an even number. Like, you wouldn't leave it. Like, to me, I
do it
in
now.
my mind, I'm just turning it up till I was like,
That's
oh,
another
yeah,
one.
That's a good volume right there. No,
Yeah.
now it goes up to an even number.
I do too.
I find
15 or
myself doing
20.
it now.
Yep, mine. It's even.
Right.
It has to be. Mine's numeral of 5s though. Yeah,
That's how mine is.
Yeah.
So that
You
I
got,
don't
that, you
understand.
got me started
I don't
on that,
understand.
Dylan.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand people who do odds on that. Like 21.
10,
how in the world do you
15,
have
40?
a volume at 21? How do you have a volume number at 16, 17, 18? That makes no sense to me.
You close your eyes and you just listen. Like, don't even look at the volume. Just listen. Say, that's
ain't
it.
nobody going to
That's
turn off
it.
their TV and close their eyes and go,
That's it. Say right there.
this
That's a
is
perfect
the
volume.
perfect volume.
Dylan,
Okay,
you remember? Dylan, you remember when we were having those prank wars in college in our apartment, and they did something to our shower, and you walked in and was like, "Why is my shower curtain different?"
Yeah.
Like you could just
know,
tell
yeah,
that
yeah,
the shower curtain had been messed with.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I was like, "How does he notice it?"
Yeah. Well, anyways, so that was our segment of pet peeves. We'll probably do some more throughout the year or throughout the rest of the week, maybe of some that you all may have wanted us to do that we didn't get to tonight. But before we move on to our next segment, I've got a surprise for you all. You all didn't know this. So viewers out there, they have no idea. So
all right,
I'm going to start doing this every now and then. This is something I like to call Dillon's Ultimate Pop Quiz Challenge.
Comes the teacher, Eddie.
Man.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, and today's challenge is titled Gen Z Slang.
Oh, boy.
Gen Z Slang. All right, Mason, you're up first. We're going to have 3 and 3. So Mason will have 3, Colt will have 3. You got to tell me what it means. If you don't know what if you want to ask for it to be in a sentence, I'll provide that too. But let's see if you can get the first one. Mason, what does drip mean? If you want me to use it, in a sentence, I can.
We got this, big dog. We got this. I mean, I would consider myself to have drip. Just
water coming out of the faucet.
Flashy. Okay. He said water coming out of the faucet. That's a great answer.
What does drip mean, Mason? What's it mean?
Flashy, got style,
okay,
looking cool, we got drip.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Cool and in style. All right, Colton. What does skibbity riz mean?
Skibbity riz. That sounds like some game you play out on the playground.
If you want me to use it in a sentence, I can.
Like hopscotch. Use it in a sentence.
Okay, all right, so skibbity riz. All right, here's your sentence.
Okay.
Bro, you really tried to hit on her with that skibbity riz.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to go with the smoothness. Pickup line.
You know what? I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. It's someone who's good at flirting.
How about that?
Colton, come out there.
Colton, you got the skibbity riz?
Look at the skibbity riz.
Hey, man, that's that 19 years of education there.
All right, we got 1-1, man. Mason, what does no cap mean?
No cap. That means, hey,
baseball.
LeBron's a GOAT. No cap.
Okay.
LeBron's a GOAT.
Well,
it means a truth, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Not lying.
Not lying. There you go. Boom. Got it.
Oh, boy.
All right, Colton, you're next.
Yeah.
Colton, what does ate and left no crumbs mean?
Hopefully you cleaned up after yourself after you ain't left no crumbs. Hey man, no stones unturned. You ain't left nothing. Man.
If you want me to use it in a sentence, I can.
Yeah, use that in a sentence.
Okay.
Here we go.
That new singer totally ate and left no crumbs on the stage last night.
Man, gave it all they got then. Right? Ain't that it? They were at their top of their game, nothing left.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, my dog.
I'm eating no crumbs right now.
Yeah,
There's no crumbs left right here.
Okay, Mason, here we go. What does slay mean?
Slay means to kill something. Right? You killed that.
That was what exactly I had written down. That is perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
3-3.
I know. Mason's getting these like with ease. Cody's taking a little bit longer.
He uses them.
All right, Cody, your last one. What does that slaps mean?
That what?
That slaps.
Can I get a vowel?
No.
Can I get a vowel?
All right, let me give you a sentence.
Right, use that
sentence. That new song by Taylor Swift absolutely slaps.
Slaps. Oh man, it was real good. It was like the best. It goes hard, as they would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bringing out some
Yeah.
What about that? Oh man, I'm telling you, I'm getting up to par with this Gen Z. My nephews now they supposed to call me. They call me Uncle Bubba because my sister calls me Bubba, and now they've got to where they just call bruh, bro, what you doing, bruh? Man, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. There's a couple of these though. I had no idea at first, but I thought that'd be pretty funny. But y'all done well. Y'all,
How about
Mason
that?
was
Man.
a little bit quicker, but Colton, you got all three as well.
I get the crown tonight.
Yeah,
next time
I'm
you
going
got
to give
it.
the crown to
Hey,
Mason.
listen,
on
I'm
this
proud of
one.
Next
myself.
time.
Yeah, I'd say.
I'm proud of you too, Bulldog.
All right, fellas. Underrated food. I think you could take this two different ways, and this will be before we get into our last segment. This is what we're going to get into underrated food, and I think you could go anywhere you want with this. So I'm going to start out tonight. Okay, there's two different directions that I think you could have went with this. The first one is, I was kind of thinking more restaurants underrated food, but then I was like, no, you know what's something that absolutely slaps? Y'all see what I done there?
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Hotel breakfast. That is underrated. Now, some people may not agree. No. Listen. I just know. Listen,
Are you saying the Four Seasons?
No. Hey, the waffle makers. I know y'all
goodness.
went down and put that major on waffle. That waffle. Oh my goodness! Best waffles that I have all the time. Maybe not better than Waffle House, but a lot of people may not agree with me, but I'm okay with that. But a hotel breakfast to me, I love it, and especially if it has the waffle maker. Got to have the waffle maker. Maybe it might go down if it doesn't have the waffle maker. But y'all may not agree, but it's pretty good for me.
What? I mean, hotel breakfast. It's so hit or miss. It really depends on where you're staying. You go down there and the eggs may be spongy, cold, biscuits and gravy all watery. I'm like, man, I got hit up the Hardee's across the street.
Hey, that's why that's why it's underrated. I'm telling you, it's a sleeper. And then, hey, the last one I had, and y'all don't have to do two if you want, but the last one I thought of, I was like, just a regular sandwich. I mean, just a regular ham, cheese, lettuce, mayonnaise, wheat bread sandwich, especially on a hot day. Yeah, wheat bread. Man.
I mean,
underrated.
I'm always good.
I can do a sandwich.
Yeah,
I can do a
more than the hotel breakfast. You ain't stayed enough at some of the hotels we stayed at.
Hey, that's why it's underrated. All right, Cole, what you got? What you got for underrated food?
Man, I thought you were about to steal one of mine. Man, the Waffle House All-Star Special. I mean, telling you, it is an all-time great. And I didn't really understand the hate for Waffle House till I looked on, right? For me, when we went around, I was like, man, everyone's got to love Waffle House, right? Then people started being like, oh, no, why would you go to Waffle House? Why would you not go to some of these bigger restaurants?
Oh, no, right? Waffle House is late at night.
The All-Star Special, right. I'm telling you, get a chocolate chip waffle and eggs. Oh, here's another one. Over easy eggs.
Oh,
those things
I can't
running,
do that.
Running
oh my goodness.
with the toast to wipe it up. Oh my goodness.
See, I guess that's where we're different on stuff. So y'all two have agreed on something, and I'm agreeing on disagreeing with y'all.
Flaps. Listen, those are over easy eggs are better than those ones in that hotel breakfast.
Oh, hold on, Brett. What happened at my bachelor party at Waffle House? Do you remember what happened? There was some lady who said something to you, and we thought it was hilarious. I cannot recall what it was.
Oh, I can't either.
Can't remember either. But I know
so
y'all
funny.
remember. It was so funny because we ate there before we went golfing. I cannot remember what it was. I don't remember what it was.
You need to ask Skylar, because I was in my Skylar. We were dying laughing.
Can't remember.
There's no telling. There's no telling.
I don't know. I just was when you talking about Waffle House, because I think that's the last time maybe we all had Waffle House together. But no, I agree. Yeah. Waffle House, there is this kind of, I guess people do think that Waffle House is kind of disgusting, but I love it.
Oh, also my final one is a Red Baron frozen pizza. Listen, I don't care. You might be a dominant, or you might be a DiGiorno. It's DiGiorno type guy. I'm a Red Baron all the way. Pepperoni and sausage, or 4 meats.
Did Trevor get us on that in college?
Red Baron is I did. Red Baron is the frozen pizza goat.
And Trevor
right
would
here
eat all of our pizza.
Yeah, I mean, that would be gone. I'd buy it. It's gone, but that's a story for another time.
All right, Mason, what's your underrated foods? Come on, hit us.
All right, I got two here. My first one, doesn't really matter where it's from. A chicken bacon ranch pizza. I mean, you obviously got to like ranch.
Oh man, that brings back college.
But that's kind of my go-to, you know.
Mm.
I feel like
Remember we used to get the chicken bacon ranch cheese
Papa
sticks from
John's.
Papa John's?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the pizza. We ordered the pizza
I mean, yeah, the
too,
pizza
and the
too,
square
but
pizza.
but the little cheese sticks were just more better for just individually.
For
and
sure.
Yeah, those were fire.
Yeah, chicken bacon ranch pizza is my big one. I get that. I used to love it. Eat it a lot. Not really anymore because my kiddo doesn't like it. But that's my first one, and then my second one, buffalo chicken dip. Y'all have buffalo chicken dip before?
Had it tonight.
Me too. And it's like, I feel like, you know, it's more of like an appetizer, kind of like finger food type thing. But I mean, I promise, once a week, I'm cooking tacos and buffalo chicken dip, and I make a big old pan. And Brittany doesn't like it that much. You know, she'll probably have.
I love it.
3 or 4 scoops out of it.
Karen made it tonight for the Super Bowl party. Oh, it's amazing.
See, I feel like my take is going to be a little bit of a bigger take than y'all, the hotel breakfast, because you know, a lot of people don't think of that as an underrated food. I think of the foods that y'all are saying as actual good food. Like people all around like those foods.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be like.
I didn't come in. I didn't come in thinking it that way, but you know what? We do that again. I'll try to think of something that.
Yeah, I was trying to think of something more like. Not that a lot of people would probably enjoy, because every food that y'all said, other than those over easy eggs, I love. But man, those are disgusting. I think. All right. But anyways, viewers out there, you can tell us how you feel about a hotel breakfast. You know, I still think that the homemade waffles down at the bottom. I mean, maybe it's just because that's what I had to eat so much for travel basketball. I don't know. Maybe I just got used to it.
Now, I know the hotels we stayed in whenever we went on our basketball trips. That's not what you're talking about.
Chilling down there going for seconds.
That's right.
Everybody's up in the room like, is there McDonald's close? It's like, man, this is good. What are you talking about?
Hey, especially if a hotel breakfast is free. You know I'm all about that free stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
We saving that money.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, let's go on to our next one, the last one for the night. Fellas, Tiger is playing this week.
Let's go.
I know that everybody's excited for that. I believe that Colton was the first one to send in the group chat that he had committed to playing. I believe what day was that on, Colton, that you sent that?
Yeah, he sent it, I think, Monday. I think he had to be committed by Tuesday.
Yeah.
For the tournament, so he committed, I think, Monday for sure.
Okay. Well, you know, that's exciting.
Or not Monday. He committed. He has to be committed by this Tuesday. It was actually like Thursday.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, it was
like
on
Thursday,
Thursday, Friday.
Yeah. I think the tournament started.
Well, either way, it's very exciting for a lot of reasons when Tiger is on the course. And also, just a side note, did y'all see where President Trump played around with Charlie and Tiger this morning, and then went to the Super Bowl?
Went to the Super Bowl, an all-time sports day from a president.
I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
But besides that, I want to hear Colton, because I know that y'all heard us talk a little bit about how me and Mason were kind of new to golf whenever we first got into it, it's only been about 6 or 7 years, and that's not really prime Tiger. We did get to experience him winning the Masters back in 2019, the greatest comeback in golf, and, you know, got to see that. But as far as growing up and seeing the Tiger and what it was like, you know, I personally can't say that I can recall that and remember and know what it was to see him week in, week out. But Colton, Tiger coming back this week, what does that mean for you on a personal level? And then what does that mean on a level for just today's time, for the entire space for golf?
Man, like me and a lot of my generation, for sure. I mean, you grew up and all you really knew was Tiger, right? Like, that's the whole reason you got into golf. I mean, I didn't know anything. My parents didn't golf, right? They didn't have me out at the golf course. The only thing I really knew was Tiger playing on Sundays, right? And going for a win. And that's all you waited for. Oh, Tiger's up there on the leaderboard. There's Woods. Where's the name Woods at? So, I mean, he's there. Like, I'll be watching every second that I can. It's coming weekend. I mean, he gets 4 rounds. It's a signature tournament, so that's awesome. Hopefully he plays all 4 rounds. That's obviously been the biggest key. Obviously, Tiger's on the down end. He's, 48 or 49 now? I mean, he's about to be he's pushing the Champions Tour. If he wants that, the injuries, all the setbacks, everything, Tiger's no longer there, but he's going to draw the most viewers this tournament, right? This tournament's going to have the most viewers of the year so far. I mean, because you just want to see Tiger, and you're just hoping, like, oh, is he going to get another one? Is there going to be one more? Right? I think he's tied for the all-time wins lead
Why
at
is that though,
83.
Colton? Why is that? So
Because-
why is it
Listen.
that the viewership goes up so much to watch a guy who practically hasn't really played in the weekend tournaments for the past 2 years? I think he made it last year during the Masters. He made the cut, but why is it that, Tiger's playing, and even though he's not relevant, why do we continue to want to just watch Tiger?
Because I think you don't know how many more times you're going to get to see what many consider the greatest of all time. Right? I mean, how many times do you get to see that? I mean, there's not many things better than Tiger on a given Sunday, at the Masters. So I'm excited for it. He's won here 5 times at Torrey Pines. I know that's not very much in relevance compared to when the last time he actually won it here, but it's a fairly flat course to walk. The rough is ridiculous. The greens are firm. The south course is what they're playing all 4 days, which is insanely hard. The wind can get up a lot, but Tiger's best part of his game. Tiger's best part of his game the last few years has been his driving. He actually has been pretty accurate driving, which is where you got to be here. His iron game stays up there with the top of the top. It's just whether or not he can make enough of those putts, right? He can't get into those tournaments anymore that goes 20 under, like 24 under at the waste management. Tiger's not shooting that anymore. He needs these tournaments that anywhere from 8 to 12 under is going to win it. And Torrey Pines is usually that type of tournament. We'll see how tough they've got it playing this week. But these are the type of tournaments where if he can come out and shoot a 3 under, he's going to be top 20 probably, right? And you think that's not a very low number, but that's the type of course that Tiger's got a chance on. So,
yeah. And, Mason, I know that you had talked about it because we talked about in the group message as well, a little bit about, the courses that Tiger plays, the weather that Tiger plays, and all of those are such big factors now with Tiger. And it's not really something that, when you go out to play golf, you should have to think about. But for Tiger, that's his main thing that he's probably thinking about is the weather and the course itself and its layout.
Yeah, and we, like you said, we talked about it in the group message, and I think I said, it's almost like at this point, Tiger almost has to have everything perfect for him, right? The weather, the course not being, like Augusta, the Masters not being super hilly and taking a lot out of him every single day. We all know from the stories we've heard from him how much work he puts into his body. Before rounds, after rounds, how much dedication it takes for him. We know he's still competitive. That's who he is. And he wants to win. But it just takes a lot out of him every time he has to go out there and, try to play 4 days. So it almost has to be perfect conditions and everything kind of go right for him. I think like Colton said, we've talked about this too. It has to be one of those tournaments where it's not a super, super low number, for him to be able to win. It has to be kind of a grinded out course where, his short game's dialed. He's hitting a lot of putts, like Colton talked about. And like you said, Dillon, me and you, we didn't really grow up watching golf. I remember, laying in bed at night watching SportsCenter, and he'd be all over it, the top 10 with some of the shots he'd make. And, there was always segments about Tiger himself, but never really fully understood or got to experience that, growing up of what he really was and how dominant he was for the game. Obviously, we see the stories and videos and things now, but I'm sure, growing up loving golf and playing golf, it was different. And kind of like Colton said, that's kind of why everybody tunes in, right? It was something we may never see again in golf. Some of the stats that are out there, we think Scotty's dominant
ridiculous.
now. I mean, I think it was something like he'd have to hold the number 1 spot for 12 more years before he could catch Tiger for how long he's held it or something ridiculous
and I mean,
like
you're
that.
looking at if Rory was to win the next tournament and Scotty was to finish like 25th or less or something like that, I'd be interested because Rory might be like he might take over that number 1 spot. I don't think you have to worry about Rahm now, obviously being on live, right. But Rory, and so it's going to be hard for Scotty to do that. But I take that for example today. If y'all watched, Scotty was, so obviously Dietrich had a pretty big lead and the way the course was playing this week, It wasn't, it was perfect conditions for him to go low. And Scotty started out the day, I think, 8 shots behind. Well, he had
Blinking of eye, he was
he had a 5-footer on 9.
on 10. Was it 9 or 10?
On 9 to get
9.
to 5 under on the hard side. And the
Yeah,
back
and
side is the
lift it
side
out.
that everyone had been going to 4 or 5. Lifts it out, and then all of a sudden shoots like 3 or 4 over on the backside. That's something that Tiger in his prime, if he'd have shot 5 on the hard side, he's following up with a 6 on the easy side, right? And that leader's looking back and saying, "Oh boy, here comes Tiger." So I mean, that's what people are looking for. That Sunday where Tiger is up there on that first page of that leaderboard.
So
Yeah, I just looked it up. He held the world number 1 ranking for 683 weeks, more than 13 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's crazy.
So I got 2 things I want to go with. Mason first. So, when you're talking about this is the field that's going to be playing in this week, you're talking about the big names. You're talking about Ludwig Adberg. You're talking about Sungjae Im, Wyndham Clark, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Scotty, and then you have Tiger. What do you think would be a ideal situation for Tiger if he were to play his very best this weekend? What would be a successful weekend for Tiger, or a successful week or tournament?
You want me to go? Are you asking me?
Yeah, Mason.
Right. I think for him and right now and kind of his confidence, like we talked about, he hadn't really had, since the Masters, he hadn't really performed how he probably wants to. We know he's super competitive, obviously. He loves the game of golf and he wants to do everything he can. He kind of seems like that last injury setting back a little bit. But I think a top 20 would be huge for him just mentally. Just kind of in his head thinking, okay, I can still do this, Maybe I didn't have everything clicking this week, but I came out here, I finished top 20 in this signature event. My body, it may be hurting, but I was able to finish all 4 days. I just think for him moving forward, that would be huge mentally, to get inside of that top 20 and kind of, at least maybe have a chance going into the weekend, maybe he's 5-6 shots back, but he's thinking to himself, hey, if I come out here and fire 3 or 4 under today, I got a chance going this.
All right, Colton, I want you to, so piggybacking off that, do you think that that's realistic for him to place a top 20? And then I want you to elaborate. So due to the wildfires in LA, the course, like you said, has been moved to the South Course at Torrey Pines. Does that hurt Tiger? Because, it was Riviera. It's every year. That's the only, it's every year. And Tiger knows that course in and out. So is it possible for him to place a top 20, do you think? And then does it hurt him that it's been moved to Torrey Pines?
I think the biggest thing will be his short game. You can't tell a lot on the TGL. We'll talk about probably some with the simulator, but he hasn't looked great. Obviously, that's chipping off mats. That's chipping off this. So who knows how that is around his preparation. But here, with the greens being so firm, you can't short side yourself, right? And that's, to me, that'll be the biggest thing. If he ends up hitting it in the rough, you're going to find a lot of iron shots that land on the green. They're going to roll off, and all of a sudden he's going to have to chip and get up and down, right? Will he be able to constantly do that, make the 4 or 5 footers that are slick on slick greens with some slope? I think, to me, this is a better place for him than Riviera. And the reason I say that is because Riviera is a tough walk. There's
It's very hilly,
Yeah, there's quite a few. Torrey is not. If you actually look at the outer map of Torrey Pines, especially the South Course, there's not a lot of. It's pretty straightforward. Really, the biggest protection for Torrey is its rough and the greens and slope, like the firmness. To me, that's the biggest thing so I don't think it's going to be a tough walk on him. I think that this is his best chance to keep it in the fairway. He's still pumping out there 300 yards, right? Technology has allowed him to still do that. Swing speed still up there, ball speed still up there. Iron games, and as he'll stay in his interviews, he still has his hands, which is why he still competes, right? Because a player like that who hits so many field shots, so many knockdowns, so many stingers, as you used to say, the Tiger stinger. When you have those type of hands that he has that can hit those type of field shots, as long as he still feels like he can do that on command and control those, he's going to still try to compete. I think he's realistic about what he can do, but I also think that if he truly felt like he couldn't bring out his very best stuff and be up there on Sunday somewhere in the top 10, he probably would hang it up. But, we'll see. We haven't got to see his very best stuff in a long time.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see back-to-back days of a 3 under and see where he sits, because I think it would be up there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that also, I've told you all, it's just, for me, I think when I've watched Tiger, because I have watched him a lot whenever he's been teeing it up in the past 5 years, and the one part of his game that you would think that he could, like, where he had those injuries, would be his putting, and that's something that people talk about, that they go on record to say Tiger is without a doubt the clutchest putter ever. And then you think about all these putts in just his short game in general, that's not allowing him to sustain it. Because I agree 100%, his driving, like he's pumping it down there with the best of them, and his irons are still pretty solid. It's just his short game is where, week in and week out, that it's just not on tour average at all.
Yeah, and I think that's coming from reps. I think there's a difference in playing. I'm sure he's practicing on a nice PGA type course wherever he's at in Jupiter, Florida, or wherever he's been practicing on. But there's a difference in playing these greens in, week out, the slopes and the speed of them constantly. And I'll be honest with you, no matter how much of the greatest of all time Tiger is, with him just coming back every now and then, the nerves are there, whether we want to say it or not. Right? That's
100%.
part of it. I mean, he's got the biggest crowd following him. Expectations are still high, even though they're probably unrealistic at the point that he's at right now. And look, those 5-footers mean something to him. Right back then, they used to. He was playing so much, and it was in such a groove. I can't remember
that crazy stat.
Yeah, that's
Isn't
a
there some
ridiculous
crazy stat that he missed, that he didn't miss a 5?
He didn't miss anything under like 6 foot for like over 1,000 of putts, like 1,000 something straight putts of like under 6 foot were made, which is ridiculous, right? I mean, that's what used to be, crazy. But I mean, that's, to me, I think he has some nerves. And when you get the nerves and you don't have that feel because you're not getting the reps in, that's the first thing to go. I'm saying, I feel like I can go 8 months without swinging a golf club, and it wouldn't surprise me to go out there and actually hit the ball decent throughout the round. But I feel like my chipping and putting would be everywhere.
I got the stat here. Between 2002 and 2005, Woods missed only 3 putts out of 1,540 attempts from inside.
I know it was something like that. I mean, that's insane. Right. I mean, you think of how many of those had 2-foot of break, 3-foot of break, and rolling on a 13 green.
Exactly.
I mean, so, I mean, that's just a different game.
That's a good point, Dillon, because, you feel like since we've been watching him, right, everything we've heard, he gets up there and he's standing over that par save, or maybe hit what OB, that's a huge bogey save for him, instead of taking a double, and it's like a 4-footer with a little bit of break, and you're like, oh, it's Tiger, he's going to make this, and he misses it, right? And that's something that I feel like
he's human.
Right.
Yeah. And this is a little bit sidetracked, but I think when I start thinking about Tiger, I think of the competitiveness, like he that will to win. And something that we're starting to see, I think, is everybody thinks this is a little off, but not really. Everybody thinks Scotty Scheffler is this just Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Perfect Guy. We're starting to see a transition of seeing emotions come out in Scotty more and more. Like, I don't know if you saw today of him slinging his bag. I've seen the more putt throw lately.
Yeah.
And, dude's a competitor and wants to win it all. And that's what I think I want to see more from him, too, is I want to see that emotion. I don't want to see a cockiness, and I don't want to see that the just being out, just doing crazy things. But I do want to see that more competitiveness come out in the, because that's what people feed off of. That's why I think, Brooks Koepka. A lot of people really loved Brooks Koepka because he kind of showed like he's out there to win. I know Scotty is out there to win too, but Tiger, that competitiveness, and I think that's why he still is playing. He just wants to win. He loves teeing it up and competing.
Yep, for sure.
Well, that is going to conclude our segments, fellas. Y'all got anything you want to end the night with? I know that we're going to have our closing here in a minute, but anything y'all want to close with?
yeah, no, I just thank the listeners for tuning in to our first one. We hope you enjoy this one. Continue to tune in with us. I'm looking forward to Kentucky versus Tennessee Tuesday night. So, we'll do a recap over that. Hopefully it's a big win for Kentucky. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tyson?
kind of the same thing. If you tune in again, we really appreciate you. We hope you enjoy, the little segment we kind of threw in there from y'all's feedback. We're going to be looking for more of your feedback going forward. Obviously, we want to, bring you all into this and answer some questions for you all or topics you want us to talk about. So make sure you're still submitting those and giving us any suggestions you might have. Like Colton said, looking forward to the game on Tuesday. Go Cats!
Yeah. Go Cats. Last thing I got, LeBron James is the GOAT. That's a wrap for this episode of Bluegrass State of Mind. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Also, be on the lookout for our social media pages and be sure to follow them. We've got plenty more stories, insights, and conversations coming your way. And if you really loved it, make sure to share it with a friend. From the hills to the hollers, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep that Kentucky spirit strong.